Welcome back to Tezos X-Plained. We're delighted to be joined today by Yann Régis-Gianas, Head of Core Engineering at Nomadic Labs. So the most recent protocol proposal, upgrades even, for Tezos went live 20th January this year. Tell us about Quebec. What's in it?
Yeah, so first it's a pleasure to be here, especially to talk about this amazing work done by the engineering teams. So Quebec is the 17th protocol for Tezos. So it actually includes two main features. First one is the reduction of block time, go back on it. And second is even stronger economic for the protocol.
Let's dive into block time first. So way back when Tezos originally launched, block times were around 60 seconds. And then all the way down to 8. And even more importantly, finality has massively reduced down to 16 seconds. Why is this important?
So why is that important? Because it simply brings a better UX. So it means for the apps that are running on our layer 1, it means that you get the confirmation that your transaction is actually finalized a bit quicker. So we've moved from 60 seconds to 8 seconds. And each time you have to think that you need, since Thunderbake, 2 blocks of finality. So you have to double this time to actually know that, now it's immutable, your transaction is in. So for end users, it means without changing anything, they get actually a quicker response from the system. And in terms of the industry, it means we are actually quite good for layer 1. If you look at, Solana, that is something like 14 seconds finality, or Ethereum, that is something like a quarter. Well, we are actually quite good in this area, and we'll do better. We continuously improve. Actually, it doesn't stop at the layer 1 DApps, because today we have layer 2. You know that Etherlink is getting more and more activity on chain, and actually, the finality time of the layer 1 is important for Etherlink, typically at the bridge level, because bridge needs to know that the data about what's going on the layer 2 has been actually published and attested by the layer 1. So UX improvement for both layer 1 user and layer 2 users, actually.
Absolutely. So one of the things that happens when you reduce block time is that the network as a whole does have to reach consensus quicker. So how have we gone about ensuring that, for example, the small bakers that we have on Tezos are never affected by the reduction in block time?
It's a very good question. And I think there exist 2 strategies to implement a reduction of block time. Let's change and see if it breaks something in production. Okay. We don't do this in blockchain. Because it's too critical software, okay? So we have to be careful to actually run simulation, to actually understand in an holistic way what's the impact on the full stack of changing this and these parameters in the system. And for this, you need to have a very rigorous methodology. And what's nice today, and we have a very nice blog post explaining that we have built a framework that allows us to really simulate with realistic inputs and under realistic conditions that the reduction of block time that we are considering is safe for our users. So when we push that kind of reduction of block time, actually we know it will work. We have very high probability there won't be any disruption of services for the users.
That makes a lot of sense. And so that's something that we'll continue to do as we look to lower block time further in future?
Yes, it's a systematic approach that we have.
Fantastic. I mean, coming back to the small bakers, they are obviously a big part of the Tezos community. And indeed, the community as a whole always needs to have input on the protocols, because the protocols should serve the Tezos community adoption of the blockchain. So how do we go about ensuring, for example, for Q, that the community had a voice in the upgrade?
So what we do actually is to set up what we call a feedback loop. So even before we inject the proposition on chain, so when you inject, actually you commit to a hash. So you cannot So it's your proposal, you cannot change it. It's a commitment about the exact implementation of the protocol. And actually, it's too late. If you find something wrong, well, you have to get it rejected because you have to redo your homework. So in order to avoid that kind of situation, what we do is to actually anticipate the injection, stabilize the implementation at some point, maybe 3 weeks, 1 month before the actual injection, and say, okay, now we know more or less the features that are ready, that make sense, and we want the input of the ecosystem to adjust parameters, to get also, of course, their feeling about this feature. Maybe we were wrong, and they need to be just consulted or significantly redesigned. Mm-hmm. So it allows us to enter into this dialogue with bakers, with tool providers, with the full ecosystem, where they have their voice heard. We interact, we take decision at some point because we are responsible for this software. So at some point we need to make sure that the quality is above the bar. But still, it's a very great moment. We actually really feel the co-building of this protocol. And since we know we have to convince the bakers that our proposal is a good one because they actually vote for it or not, we are in this very balanced situation where we provide our expertise and we make sure it met the actual user expectations.
Speaking about the Q upgrades cycle, could you point to anything that changed in Quebec as a direct result of community involvement?
Yes. So this one was really interesting, quite passionate, of course, because people are really committed and engaged in this process. And we have seen several proposals coming from the community with different messages attached to them. For instance, we had this KINA proposal that was saying, okay, there is this feature, adaptive maximum, we'll come back on it later. We are not sure, maybe it's a bit too early to have it in the system. We propose to take one more period of protocol cycle of life to actually test that adaptive issuance is not just enough without it. And that was a perfectly meaningful proposal. So we had interesting discussions, and at the end, we had to do several iterations of the governance cycle. But it's perfectly fine, and actually it shows that the system is working.
Absolutely.
That the community is having the possibility to make proposals, and also that we are very close, I think, to this day where we will just take a proposal from the community and say, oh yeah, it's better than us, and we want this to be integrated. So I think we are very close to this moment, and
that will be a hugely exciting day when it happens.
Yeah,
absolutely. So one of the changes in Quebec that happened actually as a direct result of community feedback was 2 sort of changes around staking. So previously bakers could only have 5 times the external stake for their baker compared to what they had staked themselves. So that was changed to 9 times. And then there was also a change of the staking weight up to 3 times delegated weight. Could you explain sort of why we did that and sort of what the effect of that is?
We want people to stake. Mm-hmm. The target is 50% of staked funds. For every Tez that is circulating, there is another one that will secure it. So I think it's a very good and very simple mental model to think about the security budget of the system. And today we are not, we are a bit far from 50, we are at something like 20%. So we want to incentivize people to actually stake more. That's super important for the chain. And for this, you need 2 things. First, to let them stake as much as they want. If there is a limit, you need to make sure that this limit actually is for good reasons. And for the ratio, between delegation rewards and staking rewards, well, since we want really people to stake more than they do liquid delegation, it's obvious that you want to incentivize and reward people that stake. So it's all about incentives and really welcoming the people that are here to stake and secure the network.
Absolutely. So something that we talk a lot about is Tezos X. I mean, this podcast is Tezos X-Plained. So
True.
I wonder if you could explain a little bit how Quebec is really a step on the road to Tezos X, both in terms of like the staking changes that we've seen, but is there anything else that really actually leads into the next steps for Tezos X?
The role of the layer 1 in Tezos X is actually to be a very robust settlement layer that focuses on securing the network, accessible network, people here to stake and actually be rewarded for it. And that's it. So as you can see, with the reduction of block time and with this new economics, we are actually strengthening the settlement layer of Tezos. So it's one step, and we worked by incremental steps. So this Quebec upgrade is consistent with the Tezos X roadmap. But actually, in the next one, you will see even more things, typically the incentives for the DAR and other simplification of the layer 1 that each time get us closer to this modularity architecture that we want to reach in a bit less than 2 years now.
Amazing. So you touched on the DAO incentives that are coming in R. Obviously, the Tezos protocol rarely stands still. It's going through constant evolution. Is there anything else we can look forward to for R?
Yes. So layer 1, the users of layer 1 are really the bakers, the stakers. Okay. So we want to create a user experience for them that really match their expectations, what they want. And what they want actually is this ability to have their funds move quickly from one state to another. If I stake at some point, I want to unstake quickly. I want to have some clarity about how the rewards will be accrued to my account. There are a list of features that will make the life of stakers a bit better. And one of them is, for instance, the reduction of the cycle length to 1 day, where actually it allows us to more easily think about the life cycle of stakers' interaction with this staking market that the layer 1 wants to become. So that's one improvement, and again, one small improvement, but each time things get better and better.
Absolutely. So you touched on layer 1 in future being really this sort of staking marketplace. There are a lot of dApps and users, casual users of the layer 1 blockchain as well. I wonder if you could touch on how Tezos X will take their current experience within the sort of Tezos ecosystem and elevate it to the next level.
It's a very good point. For builders of the apps and of course their users, what you want is, in terms of UX, something a bit different from what layer 1 can offer. Typically, the latency. When you interact with the app, you want it to be just like Web 2 experience, subsequent interaction. I do this, I want an immediate confirmation that it's done and move to the next things. When you have a block time of 8 seconds, it's great. But you have to take a sip of your coffee to wait for the confirmation. It's not the same experience. What we want is simply to bring existing dApps that are running on the layer 1 to layer 2, because layer 2 can offer far more relevant features for end users and builders. So typically on Etherlink today, you have this subsequent licensee, which is great. You have very low cost for transactions because of the very high capacity of the system. And we want to offer the same thing for our existing users using the layer 1. So what we'll do is actually to have in the current rollup that is running Etherlink a bit of space, and actually a reasonable space for a new chain that is currently named Tezlink. I don't know if it will stay, but it will be exactly from the user's perspective what a Tezos chain is today, except that it will run in this rollup and automatically offer to all users these features that I was referring to. So for them, we are preparing ways to migrate assets and dApps from the layer 1 to the layer 2. And at some point, we hope layer 1 will only be about staking and layer 2 about decentralized applications.
So in this future, we want very high throughput, as Arthur's touched on in previous episodes as well. We want to ensure sufficiently high throughput that fees never become a worry. So I wonder if we could just finish on just how can bakers on Tezos today help support this future?
Yes. So there is one thing. Adapt their infrastructure to integrate a DAL node in their services. Okay. And we are providing a lot of material, of tutorials to do, so it's extremely easy. But they have to take the step and actually change something in their infra, so it takes some time. I can understand that. But we are here to support, and it will have an important impact for Tezos, because when we will be able to reach this 66% of the stake running a DAL node, DAL will activate on mainnet, and it will bring an abundance of transactions for layer 2, because the bandwidth will be augmented by an order of magnitude, and actually will be able to scale in the future. So that's what we expect from bakers today. Please activate your DAL node.
Thank you so much for joining us and explaining a little about how Quebec sort of has an immediate impact on today's users and bakers on Tezos, and how it is just one step on the road to Tezos X.
Always a pleasure. Thanks.
Thank you.